Okay, guys. So yeah, let's start. So in yesterday's class, we were looking at an application of say DFS traversal, and we sort of the problem was this: given a graph, does there exist a cycle, right, in the graph? When the graph is undirected, and yeah, we are trying to check if there is a cycle, and if there is one such cycle, we want to exhibit it, right? So the algorithm was pretty simple in the sense that we used DFS to do it. The algorithm was perform DFS and partition the edges as what we defined as tree edges, those edges that are responsible for the discovery of a new vertex in the DFS traversal, right, which we called as tree edges, the edges that are there in the DFS forest. Right, and other edges which are basically not there in the DFS forest associated with the DFS we have, right? We call them as non-tree edges, right? Notice that tree edges and non-tree edges are very much associated with the DFS traversal, right? So they differ for each DFS traversal you do, right? So you perform some DFS and then you sort of partition these edges as tree edges and non-tree edges. What we said is if there exists a non-tree edge, then we said we can say yes, right? So we can say that yes, there is a cycle, and if there is no non-tree edge, then we say that there is no cycle. Okay, this was the algorithm you guys came up with, and yeah, we sort of said that we are trying to see why this works. All right. Okay, so in that direction we saw the first case. Suppose the algorithm said yes, right? Then we showed a cycle, right? We sort of exhibited a cycle. That was pretty simple. Suppose there was a non-tree edge UV, then we know that since there is an edge UV, U and V are have an ancestor-descendant relationship. So in this DFS tree, they belong to the same component in the DFS tree, right? So in this tree, you go from U to V, right? You take the path from U to V, and the edge UV will give you another path. These two paths together will give you a cycle, right? That was easy. So when there is no, there exists no non-tree edge. In that sense, if there is no non-tree edge, then we are saying that no, there does not exist a cycle in the graph. So to prove this, we try to prove the contrapositive of this. Suppose there existed a cycle in the graph, there will always exist a non-tree edge, right? So we were on course of proving it, and we observed some characteristics or some properties. So suppose the DFS gives us a DFS forest, right? Then we said that all the vertices of the cycle C in the graph, C was the cycle, all the vertices of the cycle C are in the same tree of the DFS forest. Then we said that yeah, you consider the first vertex of the cycle that was discovered by the DFS, right? Then all the other vertices are descendants of this first vertex in the DFS tree, right? This is what we did in yesterday's class, and we were also sort of trying to prove that yeah, there exists some edge which belongs to this cycle, which will be a non-tree edge. Okay, that was what we were doing yesterday. Yeah, any more thoughts? Did you guys think about it? You left it here yesterday. How do we complete the proof?
Yes, sir. We can take 3 consecutive vertices on the cycle to prove it.
Okay, you take 3 consecutive vertices on the cycle, then
Suppose it's UVW.
mm,
Then we can write the cycle as UVW
mm,
union W path U.
correct.
Then we can start with
So
V as a root vertex.
VW. So no, you can't start your DFS that way. DFS is
Why?
already given to you. This your property should work for any DFS. Okay,
Okay,
we are
then
not.
suppose, yeah, sure. So then suppose we have a root vertex, then we have to take its previous vertex on the cycle and the next vertex on the cycle.
Okay, so for example, here you are the first vertex
Yeah.
which we see in the DFS is which belongs to the cycle is V, is it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Then
whatever
we
we
start
called
with,
as VI here is V. Okay,
yeah. So we can either explore now U or W.
okay. Why?
Then
Why are these the only two choices?
there can be any multiple choices, but whenever we backtrack to V and then we explore more neighbors, they need to be discovered, right, in the DFS tree, because they are connected, so they need to belong in the same tree.
They belong to the same tree. Yes, that is true.
Yeah. So whenever we discover W or U after V, then we may on go to discover the another one. Suppose we
Mm,
discover W first, and then
mm,
there's a path between W and U. Suppose say P. So
mm,
whenever we go on through that path, so at
mm,
last, whenever we reach U, we will find a backage to V.
mm,
So there will exist a backage always
mm, mm,
if there is a cycle.
mm.
So we have proved it
Why
like
should there be a backage? Still, I don't get it.
so because they're in a
I
cycle.
mean, what you might be saying is correct, but it's still not very, yeah, concrete. Yeah. Please go ahead. So we will discover you at some point, right? Then.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, suppose we start with the V, then
Mm,
we have two neighbors. It's U and W. There may be
mm.
more, but suppose one of the neighbors is discovered in the cycle.
At some point.
Yeah, and
Mm.
then we and W and U are connected through a path.
W and U are connected through a path. Yes.
So, yeah. So whenever we start exploring W, we will reach U at some point in the DFS. They may be in different branches, but they all will lie in the same tree.
They all will lie in the same tree. So are you planning to say that? So we discovered V first, right? Then we went to
Yeah.
some vertices and then probably we came to at some point we came to say somewhere from I don't know where. So we discovered, suppose this is we discovered lot of vertices, right, which do not belong to the cycle. Then we discovered some vertices. Somewhere here we discovered U, right?
Yeah, so we will also go on discovering the W, or suppose we discovered U, then
Why?
we'll find the
So yeah,
package
yeah.
from U.
So you discovered U somewhere here. Then you say that UV is a package, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
The, okay, okay, good. That is one good case. Suppose it happens this way, then UV itself is the package, right? But suppose you discovered U here, then
Then we'll go on from U, discovering W at some point,
why? Why will you discover W in the same
because
branch?
so either there is either we have discovered W already, or there will exist a edge from U to W. Because U and W, sorry, not U
Whoa,
to W, but
you
U
no,
and
no.
W are connected with a path.
U and W are connected with a path. Yes.
So from U, if we go on discovering, we will also encounter W at some point of the time. Like suppose
Mm-hmm.
we have some vertices in the path between U and W.
Mm-hmm.
Either we have discovered all those vertices, or we'll go on discovering those vertices and then we'll find a back edge.
Okay, so what you're saying is that so if U is one vertex that is discovered here, then all the other vertices of the tree will be the descendants of U.
Yeah, it can be possible. Yeah.
It can be possible, or will it always be the case?
No, it is one possibility. Either we have discovered and then we'll find a backage, or we have
Hmm.
yet and we need to discover more, and then again at last when we reach the final vertex, we'll find a backage because they are all connected.
Okay. So what you are saying is that suppose I visit a component and I visit a vertex, right? Suppose I visit a vertex and there are lot of other vertices in the same connected component as this vertex, which are not yet discovered, right?
Yes. Yes.
Then do you mean to say that all these vertices will be descendants of this particular vertex? Say, for example, you have a graph, right?
They need to be, yeah, descendants of those particular ones.
You have some vertex here. There are some set of say vertices. These are already discovered, right? Then if you take some other vertices, then there are lot other vertices here, right? You say that all these vertices are descendants of you.
Yes, sir. They need to be the descendant of you. If you are discovering it after you.
Why should they be descendants of you? Can't it be such that these vertices just have an edge from here and nothing
Yeah.
else?
So if these vertices are discovered after, if the above vertices are discovered after you, then they'll be also the descendants of you only, and their descendants will also be the descendant of you.
No. See, these are discovered vertices. At some point you come here, right? Sorry.
Okay.
At some point you come here, right? Then is it true that all these vertices are descendants of you in the DFS tree?
No, Sundar, then it's not true.
Then it's not true, right? Because there can be some vertices which are not even reachable from you in this graph, right?
Yeah.
In the rest of the graph. Okay. Okay. Good. So at least, yeah, what Pranav says is true for some of the cases. So one way is to sort of easily prove is using contradiction, where we are proving that there exists. We just have to prove that there exists some edge, right? Which is non-tree edge, right? If you want to exactly say which edge will be present, then it takes a bit more sort of work, but that I will yeah, that we will come to it later. First let us see what Pranav said.
So is it not possible to say that suppose U is discovered first,
Mm.
then W will be within the same branch of U, or opposite, if W is discovered first, U will be within the same branch, because
Yeah,
we are assuming V is our first visited vertex in the cycle.
correct indeed.
So any one we go to,
Mm.
since they're connected, it should be
Mm.
lying further below, right? So they'll
Yeah.
have a ancestor descendant relationship that way.
Mm, it hmm. So what you are saying is that since V was discovered first, right? So whatever you discover later, so at some point if you discover U, right?
Yeah. Then
Then
you, along
then
that
W
same
will
branch,
be,
you'll
yeah, then
discover
W will
W.
be a descendant of U. That's what you are saying, right?
Yeah.
So why is that true? Let's see. Suppose there is a cycle. This is the cycle. You have V here. This is U. This is W. Suppose there is some X here. Suppose there is an edge here. What happens if I take the edge Vx in the DFS first? Then will U and W, right? Will they always have a ancestor descendant relationship?
Then we could take shortest cycle, no, sir. Like let U V W be part of some shortest cycle in the graph.
How do you find the shortest cycle? Is it
Uh,
easy to find the
we
shortest
don't.
cycle in the graph?
Yeah, finding like there will be there will exist one. We don't need to find it.
So we can say
Yeah.
that the first cycle that we transverse.
Okay.
So
So you want to take the shortest cycle, right? So such that there are no chords. Is it?
Yes,
Kind of
sir.
like
But
the
yeah, you don't
shortest
have to
cycle
come
of which V
this
is a
way.
part.
Yeah, you don't have to come this way. There can be a lot of vertices in between, right? This is not just the only way to come to X. There you will traverse all these things, come to X, only then you will go to other things. Even taking the shortest cycle, it will not so much work, right?
Yeah. Yes,
This
sir.
might be the shortest cycle. These number of these vertices are much more than the vertices in the cycle.
So,
Yeah.
uh, uh, since if we consider the G minus V graph, since U and W belong to the same cycle, in G minus V graph, there is going to exist a path between U and W.
Yes.
So if we so it can be a disconnected graph too. So we'll get a DFS forest, and U and W will belong to the same DFS tree since there already
Yeah,
existed a
they
path.
belong to the same
So
TFS tree.
now if we try to add V, since U and there already exists a path between U and W, we cannot add both the edges UV and UW because then again we'll get one more path between U and W. It might form a cycle, so we can add only one edge to it.
Okay. So Akanksha has another way of proving this. What she says is that you delete this vertex V from the graph, right? Now look at the DFS forest with respect to the same DFS traversal, right? What you get. Since U and W are connected, they belong to the same tree in the DFS forest, right? So the DFS forest, which is obtained after deleting V, right? So they belong to the same DFS forest, right? Because they are connected. Even when you remove V, they are still there in the graph, right? Now, what she says is that once you add back, since they are in the same tree, you are adding back a vertex V and it is connecting to two vertices in the tree, right? If you add back a new vertex and if you connect to two vertices in the tree, right, then what happens? It will always result a cycle, right? It will always result in a cycle, right? Which would mean that, yeah, what will that mean? One is a non-tree edge, is it?
Yes.
Okay, so that would mean that yeah, since it will no longer be a tree, one will be a non-tree edge. One among the edges will be a non-tree edge. Is that fine?
Yes.
Yeah. So is that proof okay? Right. So yeah, that is one way of looking at it. Basically, you don't need this ancestor-descendant relationship so much. But coming to the previous question, right? Notice that U and W need not be need not have an ancestor-descendant relationship, right? In the DFS forest, because if your DFS forest goes this way and sort of it is like this and then it goes like this and it goes this way, right? Notice that though they are in the same tree, they are not in the same branch, right? So sorry, they are yeah, they are sort of not ancestors and descendants, right? The DFS forest can look like this, right? So it is not necessary that yeah, out of U and W, one will be the ancestor or descendant of another. Okay, that is not a necessity. Okay, is that fine?
Sir, can we say that the first cycle that will be transversed,
Hmm.
like whichever is the first cycle that will be transversed, then there has to be an ancestor descendant relationship. Like whichever way we transverse.
How do we transfer? See here, we have still not traversed the cycle. This might be the first cycle we might look at, right?
Here, VU is the cycle. It's, VXU is the first cycle that we traverse.
Okay. Yeah, once you sort of, before backtracking, whatever you traverse, you will get the first cycle, is it? No, I mean the first cycle will have all the vertices will be there in a path. Yeah, yeah, that is a very complicated way of saying. The statement is a bit contrived. Yeah, but that you can say. That I think you should be able to say. Okay. Okay, good. This is a nice proof. If you again another way, I think to say it for the proof is to again use contradiction, right? See, once we use contradiction, we can't exactly say which edge will be the thing, but we can always easily show that there exists an edge, right? So that is just like I think what many of you have already said, right? It will reach the same conclusion. So what you can say is that suppose there exists a cycle C, right? And we have assumed that say V is the first vertex of the cycle, which is seen by the DFS, and said U and W are its say neighbors in the cycle, right? Now assume that by contradiction, assume that all the edges of the cycle are tree edges. There is no non-tree edge in the graph. Then what does that mean? It means that once we come to V, right? VU is a tree edge, right? So VU is a tree edge. So which means that the tree, after seeing V, it will see U after some point. It might see many things, many other things. After that, it will see U, and U as a neighbor here, right? So whatever, say V1, something like this, so on and so forth. Then V1 will again be a tree edge, right? So on and so forth. There will be all this. You will traverse this path. All this path, right, will be the tree edges here till you come to W, right? Now you know that this particular edge W and V will be a non-tree edge, right? You can't add it anymore, right? It will be a non-tree edge. Otherwise, it will form a cycle, which is a contradiction to our assumption that there exists no non-tree edge, which means that, which says that there always exists an edge, which is a non-tree edge, right? So that is one more way of proving it. Actually, you can go much more specific and say that if V is the first vertex that is discovered by the DFS, then one of the edges incident on V in the cycle, right? There are two edges in the cycle that are incident on V. One of these edges will always be a non-tree edge. Okay, you can't exactly. I am looking at the DFS. If one of the edges is there, the other edge will always be a non-tree edge, right? If both edges are not there, then both the edges are non-tree edges. Okay. This is something which you can always prove. Okay, so you guys can try to see how to sort of prove it, right? That one of these things will always be a non-tree edge. You can just tweak this proof a bit more, right? And you will be able to do it. Okay. Okay. So let me sort of. So any questions regarding this?
So can you repeat the red part?
Yeah.
That
so
part again once more.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, no issues. So what we said is, so how are we proving that there always exists a non-tree edge? So you do the DFS. In the DFS, let V be the first vertex of the cycle, right? V is very special. It is the first vertex of the cycle visited by the DFS, right? Discovered by the DFS. So from V, so V is discovered. Now by contradiction, assume that there is no non-tree edge, right? Then the edge VU should be a tree edge, which means that at some point, right, it might visit many other vertices which are not there in the cycle, right? And then it will come back and visit U here, right? So since it's a tree edge, it will visit U here, right? Then since UV1 is also a tree edge, then after U So it might also visit a lot of vertices. Then there will be an edge, right? V1 will be a descendant of U, then V2 and so on and so forth, such that W will again be a descendant of V1, V2 and all these things, which would imply that it will be a descendant of U, and which would imply that it would be a descendant of V, right? So we get this path. This path will be there as a path in the tree also, right? The path of the cycle, right? The path in the cycle from U to W. This path will be exactly there in the tree. Now there is this edge WV, right? We said that all the edges are tree edges, but we know that now W is a descendant of V, and this edge is not a tree edge, right? It's a non-tree edge, which would sort of contradict our assumption that all the edges were there was no non-tree edge, right? So that sort of says that this is there exists some non-tree edge. Our assumption that there exists no non-tree edge is contradicted, right? Is wrong, which means that there exists some non-tree edge. And also notice that we could get this path only because we assumed by contradiction that there is no non-tree edge. Okay, so that was necessary. So just like every contradictory proof, this is an existential result. We say prove that there exists some non-tree edge, right? So if it is not the case, then it will lead to a contradiction, right? But if you want to prove that some particular edge is not present, I think you can prove that one of the edges incidents on V is not present. To do that, you need to tweak it a bit more, and you will be able to still prove that. Okay, that I will leave you as an exercise. I think you guys should be able to tweak this statement, and you should be able to do it. Okay, you can always prove that one of the edges incident on V is a non-tree edge. Is that fine?
Yes, sir. And so one more way I thought of is instead of deleting V from the graph, if we just delete the edge VW from the graph, so we are choosing the DFS traversal to travel everywhere other than the edge VW. But then once we try to add it back, we can't because there already exists a path between V and W. And that creates a cycle. So VW has to become a non-tree edge.
Okay,
something
wonderful.
like that is also
Wonderful,
fine.
wonderful. That's also nice, right? So what you are using is the property of again trees, right? Since there is a cycle, right? If you delete an edge from the cycle, it will still be a connected graph, right? Or if you, I mean, the connectivity of the graph does not change, right? The connectedness property doesn't change, right? The component will still be connected, right? That is what we have seen in our earlier course, right? You can always remove an edge from the cycle, right? So yeah, you can delete the edge VW, and that will become a back edge, right? So yeah, very sort of yeah, whatever you are yeah, modifying the proof what Akanksha said, right? So instead of deleting the vertex, you can even delete the edge. Good, that is also fine. Okay, so is that fine?
So for the existential proof, we could just take the initial statement and use contradiction there also, right?
What was the initial statement?
So if there exists a cycle in G, then there exists a non-tree edge. So if I take by contradiction that there does not exist a non-tree edge.
Yeah, that is what we took. Yeah.
So then that means the entire graph was a tree by itself, just a forest, right? Because by definition.
Yeah. It was even true there actually. Yeah, we have already. Everything was a forest. Yeah, by the. Yeah, this is yeah. This is what you guys said initially, right? Yeah. We wanted to prove a bit more stronger statement, right? That yeah. What Anirudh says is this is what I think you guys said in the last class also, right? By the definition of it, it is anyway true. Correct. Right. Yeah. All these things we need to do only because we need a bit more. Right. We need something we wanted to prove more, right? One of the edges incidents on V would be one of the buckets. Yeah, that's also true, Anirudh. What you say is also true. Correct. So yeah, there is also a reason why I am doing this in this much detail, right? We will come back to these similar questions later, right? So I just wanted you guys to sort of go back and think about it and see what are all the properties you can so obtain, right? That will help you later when we do other sort of applications. Okay. So let us go to the next one. So suppose you are given a graph. Now, can you sort of find out how many connected components are there in the graph using DFS? Given an, say, undirected graph G, find the number of connected components in G. What is the size of the?
So didn't
Yeah.
we do this in the first class only, like DFS? When we were doing DFS, we ran DFS again and again. Like
Yeah, we did it, but how do you find this number?
So, sir, in the first loop in which we check every vertex and we check if it's visited. If it's not visited, we start a DFS from there. So we just have to keep a count as to how many times we have to start a new DFS.
Okay.
Because every time we start a DFS in a connected component, we visit all the vertices in that connected component.
Okay. So you just need to keep a count. Can we also mark the vertices which belong to the same connected component?
Yes, sir. We can just have another array that stores.
That stores all these things that are visited at one point, right? So where in the pseudocode will you be making the change?
In the main DFS bracket.
So in the DFS module, right? We had this DFS module where we were initializing, right? There we had a code which said that for each, say, u belong to the vertex set, right? If visited of u is false, then we went to explore. This was what we had, right? So where do you make the change such that we know all the connected components?
Right below explore or right above explore.
Right above explore. So yeah, you can have some count, right? Say
component count.
Yeah, something like, okay, component count, right? So we have something like that which is initiated to 0 first, right? Now what do you do?
Every time we call explore, we increment component count by 1.
Okay, every time you call explore, you will
like from this main.
From here. Okay. So from here, every time you call component, we will increase it. Maybe you can also send this component count to explore, right? So that component count you can send. Before that, you increment here, right? So within this, so you would sort of increment component count is component count plus 1, right? So you do that and then you call this, and for every sort of vertex here, you sort of mark it by its component count, right? In the explore function, we were marking it as visited to be true, right? At that point, you can also sort of mark which component it belongs to, right? Something might belong to first component, something might belong to second component, and so on and so forth. Okay. So is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Why this works? I think you guys can think why this works, and it is not too difficult, right? So I will sort of leave this, how to prove this and things like that, right? So this was basically it was discussed initially itself, but I just wanted to see what this sort of a trick how do we use. I mean, this is. Notice that all this can be thought of as data structures, right? How do we exploit, right? Simple variables and things like that. Okay. Good. Now, we'll still further go into the DFS. So let us sort of increase or generalize it for other classes of graphs, right? Till now we are looking at undirected graphs. Okay. Now let's see what happens to this depth first search once we sort of look at directed graphs, right? So notice that the depth first search traversal again still remains the same, right? You will be sort of visiting its neighbors. Instead of in directed graph, you can only go to its out neighbors, right? Suppose you are at a vertex here, it has some out neighbors and some in neighbors. So if you are at this vertex, you can only go out to these vertices. If this is a vertex U, this is V1 and V2. You can only go to vertices V1 or V2. You can't go to, right, say something like W1, W2 and W3 because these are in neighbors, right? You can't go out to them, right? You can come from them, right? You can come into this vertex U from any of these in neighbors and you will sort of move to the out neighbors, right? So this is the only difference when we do depth first search in directed graphs. Here there are directions and we need to sort of obey these directions when we are doing the traversal. Okay. So in that case, it is in that sense it is still the it's still like the old sort of pseudocode what we are doing, right? There basically we were saying that for all in the explore function, we were saying that we were calling explore for every adjacent vertex. Here what you need to do is to call explore function for every out neighbor, right? For every out neighbor, if it is not visited, you visit it, right? So I think that is a very small change which you can do it. Rather than going onto the pseudocode, I will sort of let me take an example and let us try to do it and then see what are all things we can do with respect to directed graphs. So let us consider some graph again. So we need directions also. Same, it is some directions. Say this is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, right? So let us start the let us start the DFS with A, right?
Sir?
Yeah.
So
Please.
what about E to C? Where is the direction?
Oh, sorry. E to C. What do you want the direction to be? Now, since you asked it, you tell me.
E to C.
E to C. Okay. You like going from E to C. Okay. Good. So, okay. So we start the DFS traversal from A. Now, what are the vertices you can go from A?
B or D.
B or D. You see that you can't go to C, right? Notice that you can't go to C because C is not an out neighbor, right? You can go to B or D, right? So what do you want to go first? Tell something first. Yeah, I can start from there. So you start from A, then what do you want to go?
D.
Oh, B and D are anyway similar sounding. You tell me B for Bangalore or D for Delhi?
Delhi.
Delhi. Okay. You want to go to Delhi? Okay. Good. Let's go there. Okay. So you go from A, you go to D. Okay. Now I don't think you don't have much choice, right? What are the two neighbors? The two neighbors are C and E, but the only out neighbor we have which is unvisited, right, is E. But in fact, D has only one out neighbor, E, right? So we will go to E. Okay, good. So now there are two out neighbors for E, C and F. So what do you want to go to? Doesn't matter, right? So
F.
F, okay. Let's go to F. Okay. Now F has only one out neighbor, right? C, so there is not much choice. You go to C. Okay. Now you come to C here. Now, so the sort of zigzag edges I am drawing are visible, right? Okay.
Yes.
So that's the DFS forest which we are traversing. Now what happens at C? See, how many out neighbors does C have?
0. That it can visit.
Yeah, it has two out neighbors, A and D, but both are visited now, right? So you don't have any unvisited neighbor, so it stops here, right? Now it backtracks, right? You backtrack and go to F. Is there any out neighbor which is unvisited at F?
No, sir.
No, right? Again, no out neighbors unvisited at F. You backtrack to E. Here also there is no out neighbor which is unvisited because E is again visited, right? So you backtrack to D. Here also there is no out neighbor that is unvisited. You backtrack to A. So after you come to A, what do you do? There is there is one out neighbor which is unvisited B. You can go to B. Nice, right? Now you come back and yeah, there is nothing much you can do here, right? So because anyway at B all the out neighbors are anyway visited, right? You come back to A and you finish it, right? So this component is finished actually, right? No, this is not a component in that sense, right? There is I won't still call it a component or anything, right? So here the DFS traversal ends here, right? Because there is no other neighbor from any of these vertices, out neighbors from any of these vertices, which are not visited now, right? Then it goes back to the main loop and still there are vertices which are yet to be visited, right? You go and start it somewhere, right? So maybe you start it at H here, right? Then you start at H, you go to I, then when you go to I, then you go to G, right? After that, anyway, all the out neighbors of G are visited and you end it there, right? So now this becomes the DFS forest, right? There are two trees in this forest, right? So one is this tree which contains A, B, C, D, E, F. The another tree is H, I, G, right? Okay. So here let us again sort of differentiate the edges. Okay. Here it becomes a bit more, right? These edges, the yellow edges which we have drawn, anyway, these are tree edges, right? So these are tree edges. And there are other edges. All the other things are non-tree edges. Okay. Now we also differentiate between these non-tree edges. Okay. So let us look at the DFS traversal. From A we went to D, right? Then we went to E. Then we went to F. After that we went to C. So from C, right, there was an edge CA, right? We could have come here, or there was an edge CD, right? So we couldn't go there because it was already visited, right? So notice that C is a, so this also defines the ancestor descendant relationship. Notice that C is a descendant of F, E, A and D, right? Now we call these edges which are going from descendant to ancestor, right? So these are special edges. They are going from descendant to ancestor, right? These edges we call them as back edges. They are going back in the traversal. These are back edges. Okay. So the edges which go from descendant to ancestor, right? So one is tree edges. Edges that discover new vertices, right? This is one. The second thing is back edges. Edges from descendant to ancestors. Okay. These are what we call as back edges. Okay. So here CA is a back edge, CD is a back edge. Okay. Okay. Then the traversal comes back. At E, there is one more edge, EC, right? It is from an ancestor to a descendant. Okay. So this edge, I will sort of, I don't know whether this color is visible, right? This edge, this green edge is from an ancestor to descendant. We also differentiate these kind of edges. These are called as forward edges. Edges from ancestor to descendant. So the vertices which would be discovered are already discovered by some other vertices, right? So these are edges from ancestor to descendants, right? These are what we call as forward edges, right? So you go back here, right? You go back here and then you go to B. From B there is an edge to C, right? So let us see. The tree looks like this. A is here, then D is there, then E is here, F is here, and C is here. Then on this side there is B, right? So from B there are edges to C as well as F, right? Something like this. Okay. This is, notice that B and F or B and C, they don't have an ancestor descendant relationship, right? So neither are edges from G to F and G to E, right? All other edges which don't belong to these edges, we call them as cross edges. Right? All other edges. These are cross edges, right? They are between two vertices which don't, right, belong to any ancestor descendant relationship. Okay. So in directed graphs, when we do a DFS traversal, we do this and we sort of differentiate every edge in the graph as tree edges, back edges, forward edges, and cross edges. Okay. So is this clear?
Sir, HI will be a cross edge or it will be a tree edge, like since it's a part of
HI.
HI.
HI is a tree edge, right?
Tree
It
edge.
is
Okay. Because
every
it's
edge
part
that,
of
so see, this HI was responsible for the discovery of I, right? So when we said tree edge, see, we don't call them forest edges. Instead of forest edge, we are calling tree edge. It forms a tree, right, in the forest. That's all, right? So it's an edge. So all the edges which I have marked yellow are tree edges.
So the forward edges, like even there are even forward edges among the tree edges, right? Like it goes from the ancestor to descendant.
That is the very next edge that we don't call as the, so okay. I should edges from ancestor to descendant other than tree edge.
Or to a visited descendant.
Yeah. Right, other than tree edges. These are so edges from ancestor to descendant other than the tree edges. Correct. Okay. So this is again what I want to sort of emphasize here is this is a partition, right? It is not just a union of edges, it is a partition. Every edge belongs to exactly one of the group, right? It doesn't belong to more than one group. So is that fine? The forward edges here, EC is a forward edge. Then GH is a back edge anyway. So back edge, I don't know if all colors what I am drawing here are visible, but yeah, this is a back edge, right? And these white edges which I have left like that, these are cross edges, right? So these are even this or cross edges, right? These are again tree edges. This is a back edge. There seems to be only one forward edge. Oh, it's nice. It's a nice example at least. Yeah, all the edges came. Okay. So is the definition of all these things clear? And also with yeah, someone wanted to say yes, Anirudh.
Nothing. I was just saying yes, sir.
Yeah. So and also note the traversal. Notice that with respect to the undirected sense, the graph is still connected, right? But it is not connected with respect to the directed sense, right? When we say connected in directed, we call something as strongly connected. Okay. So when we say strongly connected, for any two vertices u and v, there should be a path from u to v as well as from path from v to u, right? So in only then we call a graph as strongly connected. Okay. Okay, we will come to that in the next class. So okay, so now is the definition of these edges clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, now let us again notice that we can still have the same code, right? There will be discovery time, there will be finishing time, and things like that. Okay. Now let us again come back to some applications with respect to directed graphs. Okay. Now we will again go back to the first problem we took. So given a directed graph, right? So given a digraph and directed graph are same, we will use the same. G, check if it as a cycle. When we say cycle here, it's a directed cycle, right? We want to check if there exists a directed cycle in the directed graph that is given to us as the input. Now, can we use a similar strategy as before?
If there exists a back edge, then there exists a cycle.
Okay.
Otherwise, there doesn't exist a cycle.
Okay, so what Anirudh says is that he comes up with an algorithm. So you do a DFS, right? So if there exists a back edge, there we said that if there exists a non-tree edge, there exists a cycle. Here what we are saying is that if the, in other words, notice that yeah, that is one thing I want to sort of tell you. So if you sort of consider the undirected graph in this manner with respect to these things, notice that every edge in the undirected graph is a back edge, right? So every non-tree edge is a back edge in that sense, right? So there are no forward edges there. Every forward edge becomes a back edge. Even every cross edge becomes either a tree edge or a back edge, okay, in an undirected graph, okay. So in the there we said that every non-tree edge, if it exists, there is a cycle. Here, what Anirudh is saying is that at least suppose there exists a back edge, then there exists a directed cycle, right? So the algorithm is again pretty clear. What it says is do a DFS, partition the edges. Suppose there exists a back edge, then there you say yes, there is a directed cycle. If there is no back edge, then you say no, there is no directed cycle. So how do we prove this? Why does a back edge? So there are again two directions. Suppose there exists a back edge. Can you say that there exists a directed cycle? So let me just rub this. Yeah, the algorithm is DFS to partition edges, right? If there exists a back edge, say yes, else say no. Yeah. Now why is this correct? Suppose there exists a back edge, can you exhibit a directed cycle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
What is the
sir.
directed cycle?
Yes.
One will be of all forward, and other path will be backward edge. Like all forward edge in one path.
Suppose there is a back edge UV. Notice that now UV is different from VU, right? It's a directed graph, right? The edge is UV. Suppose this is a back edge, right? Then what is the cycle?
The path from V to U and then UV.
Yeah, by the definition of back edge, we know that V is an ancestor of U, right? There exists a path from V to U, let us say VPU, right? This union, right? The edge UV will be the directed cycle, right? There exists a path from V to U, and now we have a back edge like this. So the cycle is anyway, the path is anyway directed from V to U like this, right? Now the back edge will give us the directed cycle, right? Good. So is this direction clear? Suppose there exists a back edge, then there always exists a directed cycle. In most of the cases, as we have seen also in the discrete math, one of the directions is a bit more easier. Both direction can be easier, right? One of the directions, especially in this if and only if kind of statements. Okay. Now, is this clear? Any doubts with respect to this? Suppose there exists a back edge, then there exists a directed cycle.
So can we like also see like how other edges can contribute to cycles, the cross edges and forward edges.
That they might contribute to other cycles, but not exactly the. Yeah, can we say that they can't contribute to any cycle at all?
They will contribute, sir. Depending, you can give
Cross
examples
edges
where they
will
do contribute.
Yeah.
If
That's
you just have
So
a
won't that depend on
cycle,
the direction also?
you want that depends on the definition. Yeah, no, the definition is clear. I mean,
No, sir, direction of the
direction.
cross
Yeah.
edges.
Yes. It does depend on the direction. Can you say something about the direction? Here, what if there was an edge from F to B? Would it be a cross edge?
So then it would be a tree edge.
Yeah, then that would have become a tree edge, right? So we could have still explored B, right? So notice that suppose you sort of draw the tree the way you discovered from sort of top to bottom and left to right, right? All the cross edges are from right to left, right? Always they are directed from right to left. Okay. So this is the first branch we discovered, right? They will never go from left to right. Otherwise you would still have discovered them. Okay. What Alan says is a nice thing. You can think about it, right? So what if whether other edges lead to directed cycles or not? Okay. They might still lead to it. The combination of
Not be a cut-off cycle.
it is not clear, Janmansh. What you said is not clear. It is breaking. Anyway, so yeah, so somehow it's breaking. So anyway, yeah. What about the other direction? So let us come back to it later. Suppose there exists no back edge, then can you say that there is no directed cycle at all? This also probably might, yeah, answer Alan's question. Or we might have to go much more deeper than that, right? So what if we say no? Suppose there is no back edge, then can you say that there is no directed cycle?
So like, can we show that using the fact that cross edges will be from right to left only and not from left to right?
That is a very sort of geometric sort of view. So as far as possible, we will not go to geometry if we can't define it. Yeah, very particular in a, yeah. With respect to, yeah, probably discovery time and finishing time, probably you might be able to say.
should we try considering the contrapositive again?
Yeah, so that might be one case. See, one thing is this is, you think about it, this is much more difficult. Suppose there is no back edge, then how do you sort of say that there is no directed cycle at all? Saying that, how do you sort of say that the graph never contains any directed cycle, right? You can't search for every edge or every cycle in the graph, right? So a better way to do it is to go here. The contrapositive helps much more than in the directed sense. In the directed sense, it was much easier. Cycles there are very easy, right? Once the graph contains n edges, there will always be a cycle. That is not true with directed graphs. There can be almost order of n square edges. Still, there need not be a directed cycle. Right? So we can again go the contrapositive way, right? If there exists a directed cycle in G, then there exists a back edge in DFS forest, right? So it is not, when I say DFS forest, basically, between two nodes which have an ancestor-descendant relationship. There exists a back edge with respect to the DFS traversal, with respect to, in say any DFS traversal, say, notice that we are telling this about any DFS traversal. Whatever DFS traversal you take, there will always be a back edge once there is a directed cycle in G. So how do we do this? Again, one thing we know is this: there exists a directed cycle. You can consider the cycle again as some directed cycle V1, V2 to Vk, right? So the direction is this way, and Vk coming back to V1. Yeah. Now, can we do something?
Just like remove that edge Vk to V1, and if you again do it, something like that.
You can
Like
remove the
directed
edge V1, Vk, V1. Then what can you say about other things? Can you say anything about
like
V1
the directed one, V1 to Vk, there is already a path exist, and if you again like do that, then there will be cycle. Otherwise, it's not possible. V1 to Vk again are connected.
Connected, no, right? I mean, we say connectedness has a very different meaning in directed graphs, right? So, because we talk about strong connectivity when there is a path from V to U and U to V, right? So, only then we will use the word connected. Otherwise, we will still just use the words path. There is a path from V1 to Vk. That is much more, that is correct in that sense, right? There is a path from V1 to Vk. There is a path from V1 to V2, V1 to V3, V2 to V3, something like that, right? V3 to Vk. So using this, can we say something?
So in directed graphs, a cycle can be formed with two vertices, right? If we have U, V, and VU, we can have a cycle.
That is possible. It's always possible. Two cycle, right? V1 to V2, V2 to V1 can be a cycle. That is a possibility.
Sir, we can take by contradiction. Like if there is no back edge, there will be cross edges and forward edges.
Yeah.
We are having path from ancestor to descendant in the tree. But
what are the descendants? Here, can we say anything about descendants or reachability? So suppose there is a vertex, right? Can you say that some other vertex will always be its descendant?
No, sir. Means in our graph, what we have taken, if we have started from one point, no, sir. From A, we have started.
Yeah, we have started from some point. Yes.
In that case, we can consider there are only two types of edges: forward edges and back cross edges.
There are there are tree edges, there are forward edges, and there are cross edges. Okay.
Forward edges we cannot form a cycle because they are only from ancestor to descendant.
Yeah, forward edges we can't form cycle. Okay.
We can say it directly, no, sir. For forward edges.
Forward edges, it is clear.
Right? And for cross edges, if it is from already in the left, if it is from left to right, the connection will not be there, no, sir, because we are doing depth first search.
Yeah, I want to avoid this left to right thing. How do we? Yeah, because it depends on how do you draw the DFS tree, right? Can we talk in terms of, without this geometry? Yeah. Can you be a bit loud?
Sir, if after the traversal, I'll remove all the back edges from the graph. Now there is already a path from U to V. There is already a path. Now when I put any one back edge in the graph, I'll get a cycle.
No, but we are trying to prove that, right? There exists a back edge. We don't know whether there is a back edge or not, right? So we are trying to prove that there will be a back edge.
There is no back edge, then there will not be a cycle, sir. We removed all the back edges, no, sir, and we did the traversal.
Even that we can't prove. How do we prove that there is no cycle at all? That is not clear yet. Because see, this is directed graph, right? So there might be some directed cycle sitting somewhere and we have not captured it in our DFS. Yeah.
I think that will be a proof for if a back edge exists, then there will be a cycle, like rather than if there's a cycle, a back edge exists.
Yeah, that we anyway proved. If the back edge exists, there is a cycle that is easy. Yeah, that is much more easier, right? But yeah, once there is no back edge, how do we say that there is no cycle? Or in other words, suppose there is a cycle in the graph, how do we say that there should definitely exist a back edge? So back edge is always from a descendant to ancestor, right? So for that, we should get this ancestor-descendant relationship, right?
So like, can we take like the previous proof?
What do we do with?
So like in the previous proof, we assumed like there's one starting vertex in the cycle that we visit first, like Vi.
Okay, so some vertex. Say let V1 be the first vertex that is visited by the DFS. Okay.
So then it will like the next vertex in the cycle that will come under the tree will be V2 because that's the only outgoing edge.
It can be anything, right?
No, like vertex in the cycle that will be under the subtree of V1 will be V2, the next vertex. Like that.
No, why V2? It can be anything. It can be VK.
Okay, but like all the other vertices will lie under this V1 subtree, like the next.
Oh, wow! What you are saying is, so this is also true, is it? Suppose if V1 is the first vertex, V1 is first vertex discovered by the DFS, which we are doing, whatever DFS it is, right? What Aditya claims is that all the other vertices V2 to Vk will be descendants of V1. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Why? Why is that true?
So because there always exists a path from V1 to V2. So it will be discovered when we are doing DFS.
So because either the edges are tree edges or a back edge, or they are forward edges to go down. So if we assume that
like the cycle itself is connected, like cycle is connected, right? So all other vertices should be underneath V1 because since they are connected and in a DFS we are visiting all unvisited neighbors.
Yeah, but the DFS could be a disconnected forest, right? So the cycle could be in a different component.
How? Cycle is supposed to be connected, right?
Yeah, but it could be in a different component to
we have
the
not
starting
proved
node.
anything with respect to that yet, right?
So one thing is that if there is a cycle, then there always be only three edges and back edge only in that cycle. There is not any forward edge or cross edge.
Why? The graph itself is not a cycle. The graph as a cycle, right?
But if you have taken a cycle from V1 to Vk, then it will only consist of tree edge and back edge.
Why? There can be some of those cycle edges can be forward edges, right?
Can you explain, sir? How?
Because there can be, yeah, we have some cycle. We start from say V1, right? So the cycle was in this manner, right? So we could directly go to some vertex here like this, right? And it goes to somewhere else and things like that, right? So we may or may not use any of this edges in the cycle to discover these vertices, because there are many other edges in the graph, right? So
we have to discover the vertices after V1 only. If we start from V1, then all the rest of the vertices of the cycle will get discovered after V1 only, no?
they will be discovered after V1. Why will be there in the subtree rooted at V1?
Yes, so that's what I'm telling. If suppose if we start from V1, then there is a possibility then that will go to V2 at some point after that. Actually, we have to go to V2. So since Vk is also connected in that cycle, then we'll reach Vk at the final point.
So I think you are using this connected in a very loose sense, right? This is directed graph, right? We can't talk in the same sense of connectivity as undirected graph, right?
No, but so the cycle is directed.
The cycle is directed. So what?
So okay, we can say that one forest, it's part of one of the forests during the which we get during the DFS. Like all the edges in that cycle should be part of one tree.
Yeah, why?
Because if it was a part of some other tree also, then during the DFS after discovering each branch under every vertex, it should ultimately go to the go through that path, right? In which the cycle has. So
but there can be cross edges. That is possible.
Sir, can we assume the cross edges are in only one direction? Like we can assume that, no, sir, from left to right or right to left, whatever it is.
That depends on how you arrange the tree.
Yes, sir. Like I'm asking,
Sir,
only
if we are
one
taking
direction, no, sir.
Yeah, no, I want a property which is much more basic. Yeah, this is again. Yeah,
So,
let us
sir,
anyway.
if we
Let
are
us hear.
taking
Let us
to be
assume
the
that it is
first, sir, if we are
one
taking
minute.
the
Yeah.
Sir, if we are taking the particular VI to be the first edge discovered in the cycle, then it
No,
has to be
V1.
in the same. Yeah, V1, sir. If it is the first edge discovered in the cycle, then the whole cycle should be in the same tree.
Why? How do you prove that?
So property of DFS, sir, there exists a path from V1 to Vk. So by depth first traversal, if V1 is the first vertex discovered, then there will be a path from V1 to Vk. It will come under the DFS tree.
Why? No, you are jumping ahead. I mean, I don't see why all the vertices in that path should be descendants. It might be true, but how do we prove that?
Sir, not descendants, sir, but they will be in the same tree.
They will be in the same tree. Why?
Sir, if V1 is the first vertex of the cycle to be discovered, then there is a path from V1 to Vk. Suppose at some time, at some place like V2, we go to a different path, but then it will backtrack and always traverse this path.
That is an intuition, still not a proof. Right?
What if we
So,
visited
say
V3
we
somewhere
have all
and
the
then we couldn't?
vertices from V1 to Vn,
Okay.
and we are labeling them such that V1 is the first one discovered, V2 is second, and so on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we also know all the cycles which exist in that graph.
Okay, suppose we know it.
Yeah, I mean, so because we know that there exists a cycle, we know where that cycle exists, right?
Yeah, this cycle we know. Yeah, definitely.
So basically, once you get the first, after from V1 to Vn, wherever you start off with the first vertex, which is also then the cycle, let's say Vi, you keep following, like, it will give you some part of the cycle because they're all, because they're connected in that direction. So
some part, okay, that some part could be, I don't know, it can even be zero.
It could either be only V1 or could be almost the entire thing but the last edge.
Yeah. Okay.
So once that's like done, so we continue on, and then we then at some point, all those edges must be, all those edges must be each of the cycle. Let's say in cycle there's C1, C2, C3. All those C1 to Cn must be there in that DFS.
Still not
because
clear.
they're in a cycle. They're in a cycle of a graph, so they must be in the same DFS.
Yeah, this again feels like an intuition. I mean, it is no, all you guys are probably saying the right thing. You might be thinking the same thing. It's just that yeah, when you are saying it, probably yeah, it is coming out like this. A bit of yeah, the same sort of notions we use for undirected graphs and things like that. Let us do it step by step, right? So we have a graph. This is a directed graph. Right, and we have discovered this. Say, let us say these are vertices which are discovered till now. Right, there is some vertex, say V, which is discovered at this point. Okay, and we have the rest of the graph here. Right. Suppose there exists an edge which is going out of V. Right. Let us call it U. Okay. So in the rest of the graph, so this is the graph which is discovered, right? So say, let me call it as G is the graph where V is the vertex set, S is the vertices which are already discovered. Now we are in V minus S. This is V minus S. Okay. So there is an edge from V to U. Okay. V is the first vertex among V minus S which is discovered. Now, can you say anything about U? Will U be a descendant of V in the DFS
Yes, sir.
forest?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Is that true? So let us just note it. So let VU belong to E of G, right? With VU, both are in V minus S, right? Then what you are saying is then U is descendant of V. Yeah, why is this? Why is this true?
So because
Sir, are we saying V and U are both part of the cycle?
No, we are not even talking about cycle now. We are just talking about a general property, because when people were thinking about cycle, they were always using these paths to say something. That's why I thought let us do this, right?
So because V is discovered first,
yes.
so U
Yes.
will be a descendant of V.
So if there exists an edge between V and U, then the DFS algorithm will not backtrack from V back to S in order to find another say vertex in S that is connected to U. So there won't be any edge from S that connects to U, and so there will be. I mean, that's why V will be connected to U.
No, there can be many edges from S to U. There can be a lot of edges.
Yeah,
This
sir.
can
But the
be
thing is, DFS won't backtrack from if there exists an edge from V to U, then DFS won't backtrack back into S, and so it will have to follow that path because U is undiscovered still.
Wonderful, right? That's a nice thing, right? Since the edge VU is always there, the DFS would not backtrack before discovering U, right? So once since this edge is always a candidate, right, for the discovery of U, it would never backtrack from V before discovering U. You would be sort of, it would go like this from somewhere, it would be discovered like this, or it would be discovered. If it has not been discovered till now, right, it would be discovered using this edge VU, right? So it is because since the edge VU is there, it is always a candidate for the discovery, right? Which means that Either it might also be like this. Even if the DFS traversal like this, it will be a descendant of V, or it will become a descendant of V using the edge VU, right? So this is always true, right? Is this fine?
So here, what is S? I couldn't catch it.
Yeah, S is the set of vertices already discovered. Okay.
So could you repeat the explanation again?
So which one?
So this proof, right? You said it is always true.
Exactly. So yes, this is the set of vertices which are already discovered, right? In V minus S, let V be the first vertex which is discovered. Okay. And let U be an out neighbor of V. Then we are saying that U is a descendant of V in the DFS traversal. Okay. So how are we saying that? So that look at the DFS traversal starting at V. It will start exploring all the neighbors of V. So it will explore sometime and it will backtrack and it will go in that sort of direction. It will sort of finish off all the things and it will come back to V. Then it will see if any of the neighbors of V are unexplored, right? At some point, right, it will backtrack only when all the out neighbors of V are at least explored. At some point, U is an out neighbor of V, right? Since U is an out neighbor of V, it will check on V if it is explored. If it is already explored, then it is already a descendant of V. If it is not explored till now, then it will definitely explore U, right? Then it will become a child of U, which means it becomes a descendant of V, right? So it will sort of, V would be like this, it would be explored like this, and lot of things are explored. At some point here U might come, right? If it doesn't come till some point, then since it is one of the neighbors, then it will explore U and it will be here, right? So in either case, U will become a descendant of V in the DFS traversal. Okay. Is that fine?
Yes, sir. Thanks, sir.
Okay. I think it's time for your next class. So now try to extend this, right? Now you know induction, right? Now try to extend this for any path from V to U. U and V need not be adjacent. Suppose there exists a path from V to U in V minus S, then you try to prove that, then U will be a descendant of V. Okay. That we will see in the next class. Think about it. Okay. We'll see it in the next class.